Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. As the government of the Republic of Cameroon battles against the COVID-19, the figures continue increasing. Hundreds of confirmed cases of coronavirus have now been recorded in Cameroon, and at least 8 coronavirus-related deaths recorded in the towns of Yaoundé, Douala, and Limbe in the country's center, littoral, and southwest regions, respectively. In the meantime, a coronavirus or a consignment of chloroquine has been seized by authorities in Limbe in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. This is coming at a time when medics are debating on whether the chloroquine is an adequate cure for coronavirus or not. And Honorable O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front, said that the government of the Republic of Cameroon, while according to him, stubbornly organizing the March 22 legislative election rerun in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, has cast Anglophones into the slaughterhouse of the coronavirus. You get details in this newscast. Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the news. We begin with the latest updates on the coronavirus figures in the Republic of Cameroon. The number of confirmed cases and deaths continue increasing while government battles to stop the spread of the virus across the country. Manjikan Gabriel has more.
At the time of this report, 306, the number of cases Cameroon has registered as the fight against COVID-19 intensifies. A total of 22 positive cases were registered on Thursday night, with a good and sad news. We are happy that more than a dozen of the patients are now okay. The confinement of the positive cases at the Olembe low-cost house area is taking place steadily. The supervision and the follow-up of these patients is going on well, with the first phase of the relocation of these patients to the Olembe site already on. Talking about the testing of patients, it will take place soon in Douala. After the protest of poor treatment, the government has provided the patients with TV sets, refrigerator, chairs, and bedspreads. It was an occasion for health officials to call on the population not to stigmatize those affected by the COVID-19 virus. We are urging the population not to stigmatize the patients and those fighting against COVID-19. Stigmatization affects their health and their well-being. Government has continued to advise that people should stay at home if they have nothing important to do outside.
Manjikan Gabriel reporting there. And doctors in the southwest region of the country are begging patients to give them accurate information on their health condition and to give accurate answers to questions related to the COVID-19. And they are making this call because some patients have been telling lies, so to speak, and further complicating their work and contributing in the spread of the COVID-19. A death case has already been recorded in the southwest regional chief town, Boya. Derek Jato reports.
Social media says one person has died of coronavirus at Mount Mary Hospital in Boya, and a nurse confirmed positive still here at the said hospital has escaped. The rumor is causing panic both in and out of the hospital, and Equinoxe Television is going to Mount Mary Hospital in Boya to investigate the story. Here, the management of the hospital dismisses the information on the social media.
The information going around on social media saying Mount Mary staff has passed away from an infection is not true.
Dr. Chechu Williams, works here.
Last Saturday, we received a suspected case of COVID-19 infection, which was rapidly transferred to the regional hospital, which is the treatment center for Boya. Well, with respect to the staff who came in contact with him, they were all placed on quarantine for the meantime while we are waiting the patient's results, which came out positive today. So samples have been collected so far for those that staff who were exposed. But it should be worth noting that none of them have symptoms of an infection. It's just for precautions to make sure if they are infected, they shouldn't spread to others.
Contact the people where the people.
The person who published the information on the social media was supposed to get to Mount Mary Hospital for information. Dr. Ngunyam Esido, the general supervisor of the hospital, told Equinoxe Television, but pleaded that patients should help health personnel to be able to help them by giving correct information about themselves. For the suspected case lied that he was coming from Boya Town, a neighborhood here in Boya subdivision, and later said he came in from Douala, just for doctors at the Boya Regional Hospital to discover that the corona suspected case flown in from Germany.
When you give a lead that is not correct, you know that you would mislead the team, and time is of the essence here. Time is of the essence, because while we take time and we're following the wrong lead you've given us, that time you are spreading this infection.
Ma Cecilia, the administrator of Mount Mary Hospital, has called on the Southwest population to be calm and that the hospital has stepped up sanitation.
We have put every logistic in place to make sure that our staffs are protected, our patients are protected, and the caretakers are protected. In the maternity, for example, now you cannot come to visit.
And the health sector in the Republic of Cameroon has recorded one COVID-19 death. Dr. Chouamou Michel died here in Douala at the General Hospital. He contracted COVID-19 and he was not put on respiratory assistance because of the absence of an available respirator at the hospital and other health facilities in the town of Douala, and so he gave up the ghost. He died of COVID-19. And the first vice president of the Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, Honorable O.C. Joshua, said that by organizing the March 22 legislative election rerun in Anglophone Cameroon in the northwest and southwest regions of the country hit by socio-political and security tensions for more than 3 years, today the government of the Republic of Cameroon, these are his words, cast the Anglophones into the slaughterhouse of coronavirus. Take a listen to Honorable O.C. Joshua.
Still in connection with the said ballot, the SDF observed with fright that by stubbornly organizing these reruns of March 22nd at any cost and every cost, the government threw our compatriots into the coronavirus slaughterhouse. Anglophone lives matter. Not only was it noted that basic preventive devices against this pandemic, such as hydroalcoholic solutions, simple water and soap at the entrance to the polling stations were absent, but even worse was the fact that social distancing was not respected for those who dared to vote. The SDF strongly condemns the criminal act of the government, which did not deign to respect the list of the 13 measures taken within the framework of the fight against COVID-19 in the 11 constituencies concerned by the legislative reruns of March 22nd. The responsibility of the spread of the COVID-19 virus within these 11 constituencies will rest entirely on the government. Yesterday, March 2nd, 2020, the Constitutional Council, in a desperate move in which they themselves violated their own jurisprudence on the exact same matter and for the same election, declared all the constituencies won by the ruling party, thereby confirming the little esteem this government has for the lives and the democratic rights of the people of the Northwest and the Southwest regions. We hereby would like to point out that while we do not accept this proclamation, we are bound by virtue of our constitutional responsibilities to respect it.
A consignment of chloroquine has been seized by military authorities in the southwest region of the country. The consignment was intercepted and seized in the town of Limbe, and this is happening at a time when there is an ongoing debate between medical experts across the country on the possibility of chloroquine to be used as an effective cure for COVID-19. Our correspondent Davidson Maimo reports.
Those involved in illegal business will tell you, no risk, no reward. It is same risk that has landed 2 Cameroonians involved in the transportation of illicit drugs and other contraband goods as they were picked up by the Cameroon Navy around the Bakassi Peninsula, trying to escape into the creeks. The small flight boat, according to Navy Commander Colonel Sone Clement, the boat was chased and captured thanks to intelligence from other agencies.
Last night, on a routine patrol to secure our maritime borders during this fight of the epidemic, we intercepted a vessel based on intelligence, I must say, and I want to thank all those who participate in giving us information, timely information. We intercepted a vessel carrying a huge consignment of chloroquine. And it says chloroquine, but we don't know exactly what's inside. We think it is illegal drugs because it's coming by sea in a small boat.
Chloroquine is in very high demand, following information circulating on social media that it can cure persons infected with coronavirus. Reason why the director of the regional hospital, Dr. Kinget Thompson, headed a medical team to the scene.
These are fake chloroquine tablets. As I read on this package, I see that it has been manufactured in Nigeria. Chloroquine has not been validated as treatment for the coronavirus infection. In fact, those who are qualified to recommend any kind of treatment for COVID-19 are WHO.
We are not going to leave any stone unturned in our collective effort to see that government measures are applied here on the letter. Only cargo ships transporting goods of basic necessity are allowed to come in.
Acha Gilbert Quenti, Divisional Officer of Limbe 1 Subdivision, said the seizure, which shall proceed with the destruction of the drugs in the days ahead, is a warning to those who think they can bypass state security.
The proposal of a French medical expert that a COVID-19 vaccine be tested on the African continent has sparked widespread outrage and condemnation on the internet. Some African personalities have said this is an insult to Africa. For me, Armstrong Sander report.
Est-ce qu'on ne devrait pas faire cette étude en Afrique?
Why can't we test the vaccines in Africa, where there are no face masks, no treatments, and no reanimations? Just like HIV studies done on lions or on prostitutes, we try things on them because we know that they are highly exposed, they are not protected. You are right, we are considering that in the near future, but that does not stop the vaccines from being tried in Europe and in Australia. A declaration so bitter to swallow for some African figures who saw it as an insult on Africa. Samuel Ito on his Instagram and Facebook page posted a screenshot of the TV program and attached a text which says, "Africa is not a test ground." Kemi Seba, so Africa is to you like a prostitute, you are cheap end for your deadly vaccines. To Claudicia, the declaration of the French medical officer is shocking beyond words. Didier Drogba, most angered by the declaration, said the madness must stop and Africans must not accept that Africa be used as a laboratory. Didier Drogba says he condemns the racist and degrading declarations with every energy. Faced with these reactions from the African figures, his institution came on the defensive through a release in which it said Jean-Paul was misunderstood by many. The release said the BCG vaccines are currently being tried in Europe and in Australia and could be tried in Africa if need be, considering that COVID-19 is a global threat. Scientists are currently testing 2 potential vaccines for COVID-19 in laboratories in Australia. The Australian Science Agency is expected to declare the vaccines fit in latest 3 months.
Now back to issues concerning chloroquine. Cameroon's Minister of Scientific Research and Innovation, Dr. Madeleine Twente, has said that Cameroon is capable of producing 5,000 chloroquine tablets per minute against the COVID-19. And she made the statement after visiting the Center for Research on Emerging and Re-emerging Diseases. Innocent reports.
It is at this medical institute and studies of medical plants in Yaoundé where Cameroonian scientists research on emerging and re-emerging diseases since announcement of first cases of the coronavirus in Cameroon on the 6th of March. This center has not relented its efforts in assisting to bar spread of the COVID-19.
C'est d'abord
Professor Jean-Louis Esame Oyono, director of the Medical Institute and Studies of Medicinal Plants, says they are not sleeping but work 24 hours daily, analyzing the virus, its characteristics and how to contain it.
Mutation, c'est ce qu'on appelle une épidémiologie moléculaire.
Apart from screening, the institution brings several actions against the COVID-19. Most importantly, production of large quantity of the chloroquine tablets. This machine can produce 200 tablets per minute. We have another which can produce 6,000 tablets per minute.
Nous avons déjà fabriqué, nous fabriquons la chloroquine ici.
The Minister of Scientific Research and Innovation, Madeleine Twente, wants to make it more useful in government's crusade against the coronavirus pandemic.
Celui qui dirige actuellement.
She understands that the sector which she directs is capable of producing chloroquine in large scale.
Nous fabriquons la chloroquine depuis plus de 15 ans.
We were manufacturing chloroquine here. We decided that we will no longer give Nivaquine to children and we had stopped. We are only going to restart our machines. As soon as we have raw material, we can manufacture more than 5,000 tablets per minute. We cannot, with import-export, develop our country. We have skillful researchers. Thus, we can provide solutions. The Cameroonian researchers are not folding their arms since announcement of the first COVID-19 cases. They are already in the lead in the production of chloroquine used surreptitiously in the isolation centers, following recommendation by the Minister of Public Health.
Nous avons la capacité de faire.
According to Minister Madeleine Twente, they have the capacity to do many things and more researchers are being recruited. Upon instruction of the head of state for additional 1,000 researchers, she has already recruited 748 for researchers to move on. Though without sufficient means given her, she is battling with the available resources to attain goals.
Nous voulons gagner, même quand nous avons très peu de moyens.
Meantime, each and everyone is called upon to assist the government knock out the coronavirus pandemic by respecting measures put in place by the state and adhere to hygiene rules prescribed by the World Health Organization.
Dr. Madeleine Twente, Cameroon's Minister of Scientific Research and Innovation, speaking there on Cameroon's capacity to manufacture more than 5,000 tablets of chloroquine in just a minute. The divisional officer of the Kumba 1 subdivision in the southwest region of Cameroon has urged inhabitants of the municipality to respect all the government measures and the rules or sanitation rules of the World Health Organization against the COVID-19. Ali Anugu was speaking during a sensitization tour of the different neighborhoods that make up that municipality in the Meme division. Take a listen.
Restaurant, hair salon, we will try to reduce the number of people that were they enter. Go around, sensitize the population, and particularly those who are still doubting that this coronavirus is not real, that it is a reality, and that it is at our doorstep. And it is not the government alone to fight this coronavirus. It is everybody. And I was calling on the population to change their mentality, to change their behavior toward this idea of fighting against the spread of coronavirus in the number 1 subdivision. So I was telling them that in addition to the 6 o'clock closing hours stipulated by the government for bars and restaurants, I've advised all bars owners and restaurants to respect the distance of 1 meter during the day. That is, when they are receiving their customers, they should set their places in such a way that customers should have a distance of 1 meter from each other. And I emphasized on the idea of keeping water for washing of hands and sabon. That one is very, very important. And I promise them that every day I will be passing around to control that particular aspect.
And the Ministry of Public Health is stepping up efforts to ensure that good and accurate information on the COVID-19 pandemic is disseminated, notably by pressmen and women. And this is why the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Public Health of Cameroon brought together some journalists in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, today to sensitize them to improve on their knowledge on the COVID-19 pandemic, and also to help them to be accurate in their reporting activity in order to counter the fake news circulating, especially on social media and social networks on the coronavirus. Take a listen to Atonga Pai Diana. She is a senior public health administrator at the Ministry of Public Health of Cameroon.
Been facing many disinformation all these days, and the minister thought it wise that we should work hand in hand with the media, with the journalists, so that at least the good and the true information can reach the population out there. The impact of the fake information is that, one, many people at a certain time did not believe that corona is real. Cameroonians are not yet conscious. Many measures were taken by the government in order to stop the spread. But if we look around us, we will see fine people, 5 in a taxi, 3 on a bike. People will hesitate to wash their hands when they arrive in public places where everything like water and soap are there at their disposal for them to simply wash their hands. People are finding it difficult to adopt those methods. What do we expect? I think we should be more conscious. Keeping a sick person in the house is exposing the whole house, and exposing more than the whole house, because those living in that house will not only stay at home during the day, they will leave the house and go out to meet different people. So we should be conscious. I'm still calling on the attention of everybody that is keeping a sick person at home. Please, let us take them to the hospital. Let us call the 1510 to say we have a sick person at home, and we will know, the Ministry of Health, how to take care of that person and to avoid spreading the sick unnecessarily.
COVID-19 figures continue rising in the Republic of Cameroon, and tonight the Ministry of Public Health will be giving other updates on the situation of Cameroon as far as the number of confirmed cases and COVID-19 deaths concerned. As of now, the country stands at 306 confirmed cases and at least 8 death cases of the COVID-19. And on to something else now. The Social Democratic Front, SDF political party, has rejected the ruling of the Constitutional Council of Cameroon. The Constitutional Council yesterday rejected all the 12 petitions filed by the SDF for the cancellation of the March 22 municipal, or rather legislative election rerun in 11 constituencies of the Northwest and Southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. And speaking to the press today in Yaoundé, the first vice president of the Social Democratic Front, Honorable O.C. Joshua, highlighted a series of security challenges that marred the election rerun with regards to the security challenges in the Northwest region of the country within the context of the Anglophone crisis. Take a listen to Honorable O.C. Joshua. Honorable O.C. Joshua today, speaking to the press in Yaoundé, came back on all the security challenges, the violence, the gun battles and other atrocities that were committed during the legislative election rerun, and that has still been committed as we speak in Anglophone Cameroon. Take a listen to Honorable O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the SDF. Honorable O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front, who highlighted all the security challenges that marred the legislative election rerun in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And the party of John Frundi called for a total cancellation of the legislative election rerun, but the Constitutional Council decided otherwise. The Constitutional Council, in through the voice of the President, Justice Clement Atangana, rejected all the petitions of the SDF as unfounded. The SDF says it is rejecting it, is against that ruling, but it's compelled to respect the decision of the highest institution of the land. Take a listen to Honorable O.C. Joshua. We'll be coming back to that declaration by the SDF in our subsequent news edition. The SDF political party, through the voice of Honorable O.C. Joshua, also highlighted organizational challenges, organizational flaws that marred the election. Reason why the SDF thinks that the election or the results should have simply been cancelled and the election reorganized in those parts of the country, the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. In the meantime, we are going to talk about other issues, and due to some technical flaws, we're going over to talking point immediately.
We, members of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora, the CPD, gathered today, Wednesday, 1st of April 2020, make the following observations. Notwithstanding the disastrous situation of our prisons, particularly in terms of health, the Cameroonian government has not taken the necessary measures to resolve the problem of overcrowded prisons. Considering that Cameroon is currently facing a political, socio-economic and health crisis requiring immediate solutions, considering that following the presidential elections of October 18, 2018, many leaders and members of political parties have been illegally arrested, thrown into prison, and are still in pre-trial detention. Noting, however, that several people illegally detained have been released through the abandonment of prosecution. However, this situation is not inevitable. So, considering the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of December 10, 1948, considering the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights of 1966, considering that the right to health is one of the most important social rights of the human being, taking into account the specific features necessary to settle the problems of prisoners in Cameroon, considering that overcrowding in Cameroonian prisons is indisputable, considering that since the appearance of COVID-19 and the health problems that have resulted from it, prisoners in Cameroon risk an immediate violation of their right to life. Considering that many political prisoners are languishing in Cameroonian prisons simply because of their actions in favor of freedom and human rights, considering that the measures taken by the government to curb the health crisis resulting from COVID-19 are both partial and insufficient to curb the health crisis, considering the declaration of Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations of March 20th, 2020, and the recommendations of various international organizations, governmental and non-governmental, recommending the release of political prisoners considering their vulnerability due to the threat of COVID-19. noting that the inadequacy of the means deployed is likely to create in Cameroonian prisons a serious health crisis and the death of many prisoners given their vulnerability.
Dr. Ita Ewane speaking there is the coordinator of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora. That was a petition demanding for the liberation of all persons detained in different incarceration centers across the country in order to prevent a catastrophe that could occur if there were to be a COVID-19 case in one of those incarceration centers, and also on grounds that many of the detainees were illegally arrested and are being detained arbitrarily. Dr. Ita Ewane of the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora speaking there. And now we come back to Honorable O.C. Joshua, first Vice President of the Social Democratic Front, who highlighted all the security challenges that marred the legislative election rerun in 11 constituencies of the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And this is why the party has been calling for the cancellation of that election, but the petitions filed by the party were simply rejected as unfounded by the Constitutional Council. Take a listen.
11 constituencies were subject to serious irregularities. The same elements for which the February 9, 2020 polls had been cancelled by the Constitutional Council were reproduced on March 22, 2020. Namely, the transfer and relocation of polling stations to public regrouping centers, once again carried out without the knowledge of the population, thus depriving a large part of voters of their fundamental rights to vote. The distances of voters to get to these so-called polling centers from their places of residence, often more than 30 to 80 kilometers, with hostile barricades on all sides. The non-publication of polling stations before the ballot in the constituencies concerned. The absence of local ELECAM representatives in most of the constituencies before polling day, as well as the absence of an ELECAM office in these constituencies. Failure to consider the security of voters, while polling stations and ELECAM staff benefited from increased security. The impossibility to campaign, since the security promised by ELECAM and the government for the SDF candidates was made available only one day before polls opened. It should also be noted that the instructions from the President of the Republic, communicated by the Prime Minister, as well as the order of the Minister of Territorial Administration dated March 17th, prohibiting the assembly of more than 50 persons, completely and rightfully demobilized voters in these constituencies, and was consequently violated by the very administration that was meant to enforce these instructions by organizing these elections.
Honorable O.C. Joshua speaking there. Coming up next, talking point. We are receiving a clergy and a civil society leader, Reverend B. Christian. You're welcome.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Bavela. Thank you very much for inviting me.
COVID-19, are you afraid?
I'm not afraid. In this media, I've said that to me, the people who decide to fabricate COVID-19, I don't know why, the reason why they fabricate it, but now I know the reason why they fabricate it. So I'm not afraid because I believe that
the figures are increasing. The number of confirmed cases, the number of deaths increasing by the day.
Yes, the number of deaths, really need to increase because the measure that government was supposed to put in place, they're not really putting enough measure in place. Because, for example, like now, we could have seen most of our cities, we see water points, public taps increase in quarters, in different areas. I was shocked when I went to Boya and I asked a neighbor to give you water to drink. He said, they don't have water. So how do such a person be washing his hand when it's not even have water to drink?
Are you saying that the taps are running dry?
The taps are running dry. They don't have water. Go to Kumba, go to another city, you see there's no water. That is the responsibility of the government at this point to make sure that we're supposed to see social workers on our cities, parading the quarters and the public, incentivizing the people, not even the DO to run into the public and be talk to the public. You have the social workers. In other countries, you have social workers, the military. They're supposed to withdraw from the war they are fighting and then engage to this fight by going to the field, sensitizing the people, help by bringing water points around the city where people can easily take water to wash their hands along the roadside, and then advise them what to do, give them hand sanitizer and other things that they could use. Every hand face mask, but we are not seeing it happening, and it's still like the whole thing is pushed to the population. So the population are suffering because the government is not doing enough what it was supposed to be doing.
The first medical doctor died of COVID-19, the first case in Cameroon today. Dr. Chuamo Michel, he died of COVID-19. What can we see when medical personnel begin to die of COVID-19?
Well, I'm not so surprised, Mr. Babala, because if you look at developed countries like America, UK, you see how you look at the protective devices that they use, you see how the measures that are taken in place. To me, the way the government is doing, you just copy and paste, see what the Western world are doing and just put it in our society. There's no evaluation that they are taking on the ground. And moreover, our health sector does not have enough materials, not talk of protective materials, that they can protect themselves from COVID-19. So when you heard that a nurse died of COVID-19, it's obvious because we don't have what it takes. Countries that will depend on like China, other countries that are also suffering from the epidemic. So they cannot be concentrating of giving you material while they also did it more badly in their own countries. See what happened like in UK. This when I was following the news today, you realize that they took 9 days to raise a center for a hospital to take care of COVID-19 cases. Almost 4,000 beds at the place. That's what government should be doing. You understand?
And in Nigeria, a stadium has been transformed in Nigeria,
a stadium has been transferred to center like that, and the fuel have been reduced. While in Cameroon, it's like the way I look at the setup and the setting of the policy of our country is like the government is shying away from its responsibilities, because each time there's an epidemic, there's a problem in the nation, the population suffers, and it should not be like so. It should not be so. It's the responsibility of the government.
But the Minister of Public Health has been constantly communicating. The Minister of the Prime Minister also working with his collaborators, even through video conferences, taking measures, a series of 13 measures and other measures that have been taken by the Minister of Transport, the Minister of Trade, to bar the way to COVID-19. Now, all these measures not are they not strong enough to prevent the spread of this virus?
Well, it's not enough. They have tried their best. They have done what they can do, to have conferences. Obviously, they have to do that. But what are the logistics on the field? We need to see social workers that have been trained, in different areas. We need to see in Boya, social workers that they are the ones that testing the people. They are doing what they have been trained or they have been told by the health sector to do. But we are not. The population are left by themselves, because I was just coming in from Douala. I saw a taxi was jammed full with children and with the whole car. There was no breathing space. I was passing before of policemen. What do you? They themselves did not break the car to advise them.
So who is responsible? The government or the people who are indisciplined?
No, it's not. The government also have. We are in a culture and we are in a community and a country whereby we have been structured in a different mindset. That to change it takes a lot of sensitization on the field. Because, for example, let me give you one example. Now, the people that are supposed to, the work of a military man, especially the police, is to correct and to direct. Now we expect them more now to exercise that discipline. But we have not seen them do it. Go to Boya, you will see, look them, they are crowded, they don't have masses. Then why are you telling the common man in the car that you can also be crowded, and there was no problem with that? So they're supposed to show us the example, they are not doing it. And when you are talking to somebody, don't smoke, and you are holding a cigarette, how can that person be convinced not to smoke when he's seeing you with cigarette? So there's the problem is that the government it should leave the position of talking and go to the position of acting. And bringing all the people in place, the police, the military men, the government services, the trained civil workers on board. Let them people see the reality of what they are saying.
But the authorities will tell you that it is difficult and yet impossibility for the government to put a policeman or a gendarme officer behind every Cameroonian to ensure that he or she respects the rules of the World Health Organization, the measures taken by government to bar the way to COVID-19. And that's why the President of the Republic in Etude was calling on all Cameroonians and all persons on the Cameroonian territory to be more responsible and disciplined.
Yeah, truly, individuals have to take responsibility to themselves, because when you die, you die. So, but on the other hand, the government gives an example what happens today in Boya when I was coming from Boya. You see the pickup of the police that was going at, I don't know where they were going to. It was full with people. Those are the people that they are saving the public, right? Normally, individuals have to take personal measure. But those that are, like they are stubborn or they are skeptical or they have not yet understood what it really takes to protect themselves, or they are still hearing it and thinking it's an illusion, it's still like a dream, right? They are looking for some people like that, servicemen, to show them truly actually what they meant. Because they are good. They can go to lock the store. In the evening, you see them go to lock the store. That you should not open. Yes. And then what comes? Because some taxi-men have challenged them that you came from their vehicle, you pick up almost 10 of you, and you're asking us why should not carry 3 behind. How can that be possible? And as a military man or as a person that is your job is to correct and to direct the population, how can you help that as a man not to carry overload when you yourself you are carrying overload and patrolling before of him?
How will stepping up health education and sensitization help in this context in which we are now?
No, in where we are now, everybody have to put himself on decks. The churches have to come in. Every institution have to take responsibility. Every institution have to take responsibility personally first for yourself, because it is a serious matter that we don't have to allow our society to die. But one of the things that I really think that the measure that government have to take, secondly, very pressingly now, because when I was in Kumba, I heard about the road of Bukilindi was blocked, and the military were there. They were fighting. They have to withdraw as the Secretary General of the United Nations asked for a global ceasefire. They have to cease fire, because when we are talking about fighting an epidemic that is so deadly like COVID-19, and war is still going on, I don't think that it makes sense. Because if somebody don't have food to eat, the person is going to look for somewhere to eat, and there's gone short. You allow that person, they will surely find, a one room for the most of them to be there in order to manage their own life. So if you want to put any measure, we have to take consideration all the people, about civil society. How does this function? How do they operate? Do we have people that are managing their own life? And how is that society really? How is the reality of that society for this issue of COVID-19, to be sensitized in that society? For me, I look at that the government move so fast, because if you look in Europe, they are so crowded. Their towns, their cities are so crowded.
That the government moves fast?
Yeah, fast in the sense that we have to evaluate. We could have just, because sometimes people look at it like, it is.
Some are saying that government was late on taking measures.
The measure that government could have taken, you could have started with Douala and Yaoundé and put strict measure even to prevent it not to even come to our country, because some countries in Africa don't have it. What are the measures they put in place? The big cities, they block every international agency that is coming into the country and make sure that the measure in place is being respected. So if we put measure in place, let's say, okay, when you're coming from the airport, we have 14 days to be unchecked, and government officials will violate them. It means we are accepting the virus to enter our society, because you are lawmakers. We are the first custodian to keep the law. And if we violate the policy, how can the common man see a deputy in the parliament violating laws, and then you want me to implement the law? Some people will say it's crazy. I cannot do that. And they are also right in their own sense, even though we are standing between a deadly virus and fighting the law. And they in the power on the seat, the government have to put all effort to make sure that they themselves show a good example to the population.
And some of the people who are violating the rules put in place by the government, bike riders who are still overloading transporters at the level of taxis, buses, intra-urban and interurban buses, are complaining that other measures have not been taken to mitigate the impact of the measures on their activities. And so they're asking that government should do something about this. What should government do, for example, to encourage them to respect the measures, not to overload, for example?
Yeah, one of the measures that the government need to put in place very swiftly and very quickly is, to bring down petrol, make sure that the petrols go down, make sure that some of the taxes that they give to them, some of those taxes, either they cut the tax to 50%, they pay 50%, because, some country government have to take subsidies. You have to subsidize, the population. To subsidize fuel, subsidize, those taxes.
Senegal, Ivory Coast, and other countries have deployed, have disbursed more than 100 or 1,000 billions.
Yeah, you see, Nigeria,
the government of Cameroon has also created a solidarity fund with 1 billion inside to help.
That solidarity fund. Sometimes we should not be clowning when things are serious. Because in Limit, I was so angry when I learned that the council, they were going around the market to talk about the COVID-19. I was saying that people have to buy sanitizer, and they were comparing it to buy for 1,000. And in Kumba, the government delegate was telling me that they have to give compulsory 1,000 francs to fight coronavirus. All those institutions have to have what we call emergency fund for eventuality that happen in the community. Rather than putting pressure on the people that are still suffering with the life that the country is not even, things are not even moving, and they're still struggling to manage to cope up with their families, and they are putting them on that type of tax to pay the amount or go to fight coronavirus or to do this one. They should go to their coffers and see what they can do. As a council, that is the responsibility, the consequences. They should not be putting taxes to the people. So they have to step up. Government need to come in, be in, because we are believing that at the tail end, international bodies, if theirs have subsided, they may start to help other countries, or they are doing it now. Why would they do their money? If their money that they're not putting in places, if they're not doing things that are realistic, that even the international body can see that no, these people are doing something.
Reverend B. Christian, as a clergy and civil society leader, in some few seconds, a word of advice to Cameroonians and all persons watching us this evening with regards to the preventive measures, the preventive rules of hygiene put in place by the World Health Organization to fight this common enemy.
Well, I have to just tell everybody that you have to be very, very protective. Make sure that all the measures that have been put in place that World Health Organization have given, and the government, we should make sure we respect them. We should, avoid gathering and late night. Those people who go to late night, like to drink. You must avoid late night. But one of the things that I'm happy, because even the church have been putting a serious measure that they use sanitizer. Even the Christian, even sometimes they give to Christian when they're inside the churches and they put them apart. That is a good measure that the church is taking, and we believe that everybody should also put that measure, take it serious, because it is about life and death. So if you play with your life, you die. The government will still continue, and the life will still continue. So all the measures that the government have put in place, and the society, the international society have given us to as guide, we should respect them to the fullest, so that at least we should have a good health and live to talk about the story of COVID-19.
Thanks, Reverend B. Christian. You're a clergy and civil society leader. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today. Do have a nice weekend in the company of our programs.